So concussion or mild traumatic brain injury. Now, it's not characteristic of what people think of looking at low extremity profiles, but typically as a result of the insult to, the main neurological tissue, the brain, there's typically going to be some changes in motor control strategies, and that's really what we're looking for. We know that there are some obvious, cognitive differences, especially when it's really, really evident, and we have certain evaluation procedures that we use to monitor that. This is actually a characteristic to look at the influence of the motor control, because oftentimes we see motor control deficits occur pre complete resolution, and they linger even after that. And so making sure that we have complete resolution, not only looking at the cognitive aspects, but also the motor control aspects. So look for things, especially with regards to symmetry, really in contact time. And so the motor control strategies are going to change to where they're just, it's not because they're in pain, but because they're just not really good at making sure that there's symmetry between the two gait patterns on either side. So there could be a reduction in contact time. There could also be a reduction or changes in stride length and step length. So just the overall. So basically looking at symmetry, and then on the walking profile on the analysis, you can actually break that down and look at the stride durations, look at the stride lengths, and all the other characteristics of that. They may also walk slower than typical, because again, from a motor control strategy standpoint, we typically tell someone when we're doing a walking analysis, walk with intent, under control, as though you're trying to get someplace. And so they just don't typically have that overt control over knowing what they would normally walk at in terms of the pace that they would be at. Looking at the pronosupination, it's not that it's going to necessarily change the foot characteristics, although it's possible if there are some motor control strategies that are going to be influenced, but more so the motor control strategies are going to influence the standard deviation. So when we look at these lighter lines, so the dark line is the mean, and then these lighter lines are going to be the standard deviation. So what that means is they're not going to have the same control strategies as they go through that phase of contact. And so they're going to sometimes spend less time, sometimes spend more time. They're going to sometimes more so pronate or supinate, or more heel inversion or eversion, just not having a very consistent characteristic to how they're actually going to be walking, because losing that motor control mechanism, it's as though, at a subconscious level, they're almost learning how to know what, their strategies are for the appropriate metabolic demand, as well as the intent for whatever speed or trajectory that they may want to be working in at. Another way to add a stressor to that, to sort of tease out, some of that, is to do what we refer to as a divided attention strategy. So having them read something, having them look at something, or we use in our clinic also looking at having a motor control or a brain speed processing divided attention characteristic. So they're actually performing something while walking on the treadmill. Technically, they should be able to do two things at the same time within reason. But adding that divided attention is one way that we're able to sort of tease out that inability of motor control without necessarily speeding up the treadmill.